The afternoon light spilled lazily through the windows of a tucked-away antique store, where silence was broken only by the gentle creak of floorboards and the faint hum of a distant radio. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video. The kind of place where time seemed to pause, and forgotten objects waited quietly for someone to remember them. Allison, a woman who had long mastered the art of finding value in the overlooked, wandered between the cluttered aisles with her usual sense of ease. She had no list in hand, no particular item in mind, only the quiet thrill that came with the hunt. She found comfort in it. Something about old objects soothed her. They carried stories, some long lost, others never known. Her eyes drifted over weathered picture frames, faded porcelain dolls, and clocks that hadn't ticked in decades. And then, just as she was about to call it a day, she saw it. A glass display case near the register low, and half-shadowed housed a collection of aging jewelry. Most of it was tarnished or broken, but nestled among the tangled chains and mismatched earrings was something that seemed different. A ring, thick, gold-toned, with strange carvings and a single green stone embedded at the center. It gleamed under the flickering fluorescent light, and though its shape was rough and its design unusual, something about it pulled at her. She leaned in, pointed. "How much for this one?" The woman behind the counter looked over, then unlocked the case and gently placed the ring in Allison's palm. "$25, she said. "Came in with a house clearance. Probably just costume jewelry." Allison turned the ring slowly in her hand. It was heavier than she expected. Solid, almost unnaturally so. The carvings didn't look random. They looked intentional. Symbols and tiny etchings that curved around the band in no language she could recognize. She hesitated, then nodded. "I'll take it." That night, back home, she set the ring on her nightstand before turning on the desk lamp beside her bed. She picked it up again and studied the markings more closely. Under the warm glow of the light, the emerald shimmered, throwing off a hue that was almost hypnotic. It didn't just reflect light, it seemed to absorb it, then pulse it back in a low, steady glow. Curious now, and feeling a bit whimsical, Allison took a picture and uploaded it to a local online group for antique collectors, asking if anyone recognized the symbols. She didn't expect much. Maybe someone would say it was a replica. Maybe someone would guess it was from a film set. Either way, it was a small mystery, and that intrigued her. The replies were underwhelming at first, comments about how pretty it was, or how it looked like something from a fantasy novel. One person even joked that it might grant wishes. Allison rolled her eyes. She wasn't looking for fairy tales. She just wanted to know what she had bought. She set her phone down. The night crept in quietly, the only sound a distant dog barking and the occasional creak of the wooden beams above her apartment. The green stone still glowed faintly on the nightstand. It looked beautiful, harmless, and with a yawn, she switched off the light and drifted to sleep. But even as Allison rested peacefully, her phone, lying just inches away, began to buzz. Not once, not twice, dozens of times. Silent messages poured in, comments, private replies, and one particular thread of messages from someone who wasn't just curious, but insistent. And all of them referenced the same thing, the ring. By morning, Allison awoke to the usual routine. Coffee, shower, sunlight stretching across the apartment walls. Then she reached for her phone and froze. Over 70 notifications. She scanned the messages, and one name appeared again and again. Dr. Francis Merritt. He hadn't offered any guesses about the ring's origin. He didn't speculate. He simply asked over and over again if she would meet him. He said it was urgent. He said it was important. And after a moment of hesitation, Allison messaged him privately. "Who are you?" he replied immediately. "A retired professor, MIT. Specializing in tech. I believe I know what you found," he wrote. "But I can't explain it over text." Allison wasn't sure what to think. Why would a tech professor care about an old piece of jewelry? Still, something about his tone felt steady. She looked him up. The name matched. The credentials checked out, and despite the unease in her stomach, she agreed to meet him later that day at the local library, a public place, neutral ground. The wind outside had picked up, bringing with it the smell of approaching rain. Allison tucked the ring into her coat pocket and made her way to the library. She found him seated at a back table, surrounded by books and papers, a small magnifying lamp casting a focused beam on the table's surface. "May I?" he asked softly, and without a word she handed him the ring. For a long time he didn't speak. He studied the carvings with a focus that unnerved her, turned the ring over, adjusted the light, pulled out a small tool to tap the metal gently, as though listening for something. Finally he spoke. "This isn't jewelry." Allison blinked. "Excuse me." "This stone," he said, tapping the green gem lightly, "isn't a gem. It's a lens." Her eyebrows furrowed. "A lens? Like a camera?" He nodded. Exactly. And this? He pointed to a small groove beneath the stone. Is likely the power source. This entire ring is a compact surveillance device. Someone's been watching you, Miss Greer, since the moment you put it on. Her blood ran cold. Merritt reached into his bag and pulled out a handheld scanner. I brought this in case my suspicion was right, he said. He passed the scanner over the ring slowly. A soft beep followed by a blinking red light. Active signal. Allison's voice dropped to a whisper. What do we do? If we shut it down, they'll know we found it. Best we act like we haven't, for now. He leaned back. But I can block the signal at my apartment. I have the equipment. Allison didn't like the idea. But staying silent, pretending nothing was wrong, that was worse. After a moment, she nodded. Fine, but I drive. They left without saying another word, the ring resting quietly in her pocket again, as though it had no part in any of this. Outside, the air was colder now, the sky gray, and somewhere might have still been watching. The drive to Dr. Merritt's apartment was slow and silent, as if the very weight of the ring pressed down on the space between them. Trees passed like shadows, and the overcast sky turned to a steel gray. Allison's fingers tightened around the wheel, and her eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror, but no one followed. No headlights tailed them, just the creeping sensation that they were being watched not from the road, but from somewhere else entirely. His apartment was modest, tucked behind rows of aging hedges and half-shuttered windows. Inside, the place looked more like a lab than a home. Wires, screens, tool saw, scattered with organized chaos. He closed the blinds, double-locked the door, and led her to a workbench at the far end of the room. This, he said, placing the ring under a strange dome-like structure, is a signal jammer. Nothing can get in or out. Allison's breath caught in her throat. Can we see where it's been sending data? Dr. Merritt nodded. I traced the signal just before we blocked it. It's bouncing off a tower nearby. 5 blocks, maybe less. It leads to a private network, secured, but not government. He turned to a nearby monitor. A red dot blinked softly, glowing on a building schematic. That's the origin, or at least the relay station. Allison stared at the screen. Can we go there? I'd advise caution, he replied. We don't know who's behind this. But Allison didn't want to wait. Her skin still crawled at the memory of the green gem reflecting her own face. She needed answers. Dr. Day G-Martquaz. Merritt sighed, typed a few commands, and accessed what looked like security feeds from the building. At first, there was nothing. Empty rooms, static cameras. But then, a single feed flickered to life. A small, dimly lit office. A man sat at a desk, facing away from the camera. Multiple screens glowed before him. Dr. Merritt adjusted the angle. Slowly, the image sharpened. Allison's blood turned to ice. On one of the man's screens, she saw herself, walking out of the thrift store, sitting on her couch at home, sleeping, her cat curling next to her. Footage from inside her own home intimate moments, private spaces. Her life displayed like a show, recorded, watched. He's been monitoring everything, she whispered. We can't confront him alone, Merritt said. We need to call the police. Let them take care of this. Allison hesitated, then reached for her phone. Her hands trembled as she dialed. To her relief, the officer who answered didn't treat her like she was crazy. If you have the address, stay put. We'll arrive within the hour. She gave them the location. Then she turned to Merritt. I don't want to wait. He gave a reluctant nod. They arrived at the building 20 minutes later, parking across the street. Most of the windows were dark except one. A soft amber glow flickered behind a curtain. He's there, Merritt said. Then the curtain twitched. Someone was watching. The light snapped off. Acting on instinct, Allison and Merritt crossed the street. They reached the front door just as it clicked open. They pressed themselves against the wall. Footsteps echoed from inside. A shadow stretched across the threshold. The doorknob turned. A hooded figure stepped out. Allison and Merritt tackled him, wrestling him to the ground. Who are you? She shouted, her voice shaking. The figure didn't fight. He didn't even speak. Blue and red lights bathed the scene just as police cars pulled up. Officers separated them, cuffed the man, and rushed inside. Upstairs, they found everything. Computers, hard drives, files, dozens of photosim over 10 years old, diagrams of Allison's home, a timeline, a plan. The man had been watching her for years. At the station, under the glare of fluorescent lights, he finally spoke. His name was Ashton Davis. He had gone to high school with Allison. Quiet, unremarkable, forgotten. But he had never forgotten her. I never stopped thinking about her, he said. She was kind to me once. Too shy to speak to her back then, Ashton had grown obsessed. He studied technology, surveillance, hacking. He built his own cameras, devices. Tools to stay close, without being seen. I paid the thrift shop owner to leave the ring in the case, he confessed. She didn't know why. I just told her it was a favor. He begged the police not to charge the shopkeeper. He was sentenced to 3 years for illegal surveillance and stalking. A lifetime restraining order barred him from ever contacting Allison again. The shopkeeper was fined, but not jailed. Allison didn't attend the sentencing. She didn't want to see him again. She just wanted her life back. Back home, she changed the locks. Threw away every item she hadn't bought herself. She unplugged devices she didn't use. Bought new curtains. Rearranged her furniture. Her world, once familiar, had been reshaped by the eyes that had watched her from the shadow, but slowly, painfully normal returned.